Hey, good morning, everybody. I hear you, Jake. And not so pretty terrible, really bad. You know, sure everybody saw the pictures and what's going on there in Israel uh, and senseless killing. I mean, the hate in the world is just unbelievable. What people do to other people, it's no, not unimaginable, especially when you see the pictures. But the market seemed to be taking it in stride for the most part. Some kind of a gap down after last week's rally to some, you know, profit taking or uncertainty or whatever. Um, just looking at where it's at, a little less than halfway on the spiders. Prices got through in a powerful way through the resistance, the initial resistance, and they went up to the next level. And so that's where the sellers would be, and they showed up. Not a big, wasn't a big deal. I mean, it's like after a run like that, at the end of the day, for a small amount of um, exits, it was minuscule. My monitors, and there you go. So just look at things as much as we can to not take into consideration news and just see technically what's going on. And so we're seeing the size of the gap down here, down toward this minor support level. Let's see what Jake. I will share that with everyone, Jake. Well, good morning, Alex. Welcome back. Would you put an asterisk on this gap down or consider it a real one? Um, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, it's a gap down. What we see happening on a chart and what affects it. Um, I mean, we always think about it, but now we just have to see what the reaction is. It creates uncertainty, a large amount of uncertainty as to especially what Jake just shared, and I posted in the room. I mean, does some bomb go off wherever in the US here? Are people killed? And then as you start to think about news such as that, I mean, I know what I'm thinking is like, why the hell am I going to go outside today? Or, maybe this week, unless I have to, I may as well just hunker down here and see what the hell goes on. How does that affect things? And, it's uncertainty. So, whatever news comes out today, does this is an inside gap. So does the gap get filled? Does it close near the end, near the high of the day? Does it close down here? It's one of those things you can speculate, but in reality, we really don't know. And so we'll just have to see, where things go at the end of today, what news comes out. And besides, this terrible, terrible event, as much as which seems minuscule in comparison, but what's going on here in American politics, and I don't know, it's a crazy world. I think this year is going to go down as one of the not so good ones. So anyway, things just jiggling around here. Just looking at the futures. You can see the gap down. I would say it's a little, you could asterisk it by saying, hey, it's unusual. Typically, looking at a bar like this where prices went down and back up again, such a wide range bar, our expectation would be a consolidation day. And so that's, I think, highly likely that is what happens today as whatever news comes out is digested. Technically, the gap down may be a little larger than what would be the norm. However, buyers stepped up right on minor support. And as it started to break down here, it flipped right back up again. So technically, it's kind of just being looked at as, business as usual to a certain extent. And we'll just see, how much it, what it does by the end of the day. So SPX levels today, and obviously, yes, Friday's move gone beyond the top level, but the bottom level was the no-brainer, which was way down here. And so average ranges have expanded down here. Back over here was like 30, 40 points at the most. Now, as of the end of last week, it's about 60 points. So range expansion after a pullback. Prices didn't get down to 4,200, which was a big level. That was anticipated that it would go down at. We've got a range expansion bottoming tail bar at this point. Ideally, something I covered in the advisory letter, just looking at the internals, and discounting this news, but just looking over everything and looking at the past and the internals, what I covered was what could happen is we're going to get some backing and filling here. And I just show you its internals here. This was a very weak move based on that wide range bar on SPX. And I can go back here. We always look to the past to find some rhyme as to what might happen. And so, here was a move up similar to that, right? Move down, similar, not exact. Wide range bar, potentially starting a move up. And it was a pretty weak move off of here, but this got much lower, typically where you get a bottom. But if we get some kind of rattling around, and by sometime next week, this advance continues, when we look at the internals again, as the advance begins, this is what we're going to want to see happen. A real short move in a couple of days that spikes from the lower, end here, which would be viewed, now it's at a bearish extreme. Well, scenarios like this is not bearish. It's exactly what you want to see, a broad participation and breadth. And that would be an all-out green light. And even you see things that they jiggled around and whatever, but eventually they did go higher. But that's what we would want to see in the coming days, because what happened here, based on that wide range bar and the buying, that's not what we want to see. This was last week. I talked about the high put call ratio that was really unusual all of a sudden to have seen that. Anyway, the breath wasn't what you would think at what a rally day like that is. Things were so strong. So it wouldn't be unusual for that not to follow through regardless of the news initially. We'll see if that works out. Qs here, pulling back onto minor support. So, what would have been an asterisk, so to speak, which is if it would have gapped down below the bottom or all the way to the bottom of a wide range bar like that, that would have been something like that is so abnormal after a bar like that. So, gapping down to where this is, it's within the range of being normal. It's in the top 25% of that wide range bar. I would say historically typical. So, technology has been showing relative strength, and it continues to. As you can see on the futures, hit the declining 20 MA. In here would be, maybe the 50 MA would be typically where you would think, okay, things would advance up to the 50, and then, there'd be the next whatever selling would occur. Looking at those Qs in the 50. pretty close by. The Dow has been showing relative weakness, and it continues to down near that pivot low support. You really have to look at the cash, and here that would come down to that pivot, and ultimately it might. This news throws a monkey wrench into things, and so repeating, we just see where the day ends and where we go into tomorrow. And as far as the normal day to day, the big news is going to come on Thursday, the next economic report and all the speculation, what the Fed's going to do, so on and so forth. It's already, nauseating. The Russell down at the bottom of the range, not as big a day, and these are gapping down almost to the low of that bar, but these have been showing relative weakness, and so a little abnormal, but since it's been showing relative weakness, not totally so. Well, the transports, we covered that last week. They led the way down. They made the turn in the area of the 200, and bond markets closed today. But, there was that big reversal day up there that helped the markets. We'll see. It's still in an uptrend, but this is a slowing momentum candle. It doesn't mean it can't go higher. We'll see. The dollar, that reversed on Friday, so all of that was helping. That's up here a little bit this morning. Topping tail on the weekly, so things lining up. Where we're back here where we're looking for the dollar to bottom. It looked like they would advance up to here, and they still might. The trend is up. When momentum stalls, these are giant red bars. We could look at the euro, which we've looked at in the past, as a comparison as to potentially where the turn is, and this is down here near that pivot low, and there's bottoming tail bars, so down a little bit. We'll see how things shake out. That's probably the best thing to do, short-term trades today, and we'll see where it all ends. Bitcoin just continues to be all over the place, and so a lot still uncertainty there as to what that's going to do. It's just in the middle of this trading range that it's created over the last almost a year now, and in this wide whippy wild trading range. One of the things I noticed, which was kind of weird, I thought it was weird, when I noticed it over the weekend, was that this 13-week actually, and if you look at it in a line chart, it kind of dips down and it flips right back up again. So I don't know if they could read too much into it. I just thought it was something to take note of, that the 13-week did flip up a little bit, because this is what we look at as to what does the market think the Fed is going to do. So if this stays up here, or inches up a little more, I think we'll hear that opinions as far as another or last rate increase will probably, we'll hear a little bit more about that. So this is our guide. That's it. So continue the cash on hand. Well, day trades are always possible. You can control, your risk always through money management. But if you're day trading, Jose, you could always, your stop is in, should be an automatic, and any news that comes out that creates a short move, your stop will get hit, and you can protect yourself. Whereas you do something overnight, you got to accept that overnight risk. So all yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, so horrific news over the weekend Greg's been talking about. And, I even told Greg in chat over the weekend, I'm like, hey, I wonder, other than the horrific, obvious nature of it, trading wise, I said, just curious how much of a gap we're down we're going to get on Monday. And then, the usual suspects in war of beneficiaries is oil. So, I was looking at this as a put spread, and so XOP's gapping up. We can maybe look for individual stocks, and obviously military. And those are, whenever you trade news, you just have to ask who's going to get hurt, who's going to benefit. And then you go looking for opportunity in those two doors of A or B. And and see if the pattern supports it. So military XAR, I would say it's a pseudo double bottom, but usually the when we say a new low plus, it doesn't go this far down, but it's short-term cooked. So the usual suspects, GD, that's a big gap. Look at that, Kevin, at the top of the range. But there's nothing to do, unfortunately. Knock 437. These gaps are too big. LMT, yeah, these things got collapsed with the broader markets also. 422, and the gap's too big. It's gapping $22. That's over 5% on a $400 stock. So, those are those. Let's see on YouTube. John asking about his Tesla still in an uptrend. I assume you're asking about the weekly chart. No, it's in a fat sideways range, in a fat trading range with flat 20 and 50. The weekly has broken its uptrend by making a lower pivot high. We do not know yet if this is going to be a higher pivot low or not, because we need 3 to the right. So the weekly has broken its uptrend. Monthly is in a big fat sideways. So I'll have a lot of alarms going off here in terms of relative strength. Look at not AI, ARM. Look at ARM. We put this in the weekly ladder. Now this is a big double bottom of a recent IPO. We actually were looking to trade it in this little 1, 2, 3. So this is actually a fantastic example of showing how CLIMOs play out. So this was a CLIMO range expansion, 1, 2, 3. That's very tradable for a bounce. But W bottom retests are significantly higher odds. And so we have a bear sandwich making the higher low pivot. And that's why we put this in the in the weekend ladder. So anything green is relative strength on a day like this, right? Just glancing at the Dow stocks, Boeing's up a little bit, but that's a nasty selling. CVX up the most, $5. This was a sloppy buy setup actually, with a void. And then Disney up $1. There's whatever you call them, hedge fund, money guy, whatever, been buying that up. So there's some continued excitement. Jose asking about a couple here. NEP. Yep, that's been on my list. I got an alarm already, Jose. Now that's a textbook CLIMO, climactic buy setup. CLIMO for sure. But the only disadvantage is we want more of a potent turn. So I wish Friday had a bottoming tail or a gap reversal. So yes, it's a CLIMO. Yes, it's a watch. Yes, I got an alarm set. I'm just telling you what would make it better. VLD. Yeah, it's an inverse head and shoulders with a tiny right shoulder as of now. But sure, put it on the list. VLD, Pelletier. Yeah, I gave a number of put spreads today where I'm looking for price improvement on a pullback because the big bar that I wanted a pullback. So like almost the majority of the put spreads I gave, I said, but I want higher money. And just because the gap is so big in this war uncertainty, I sent out a telegram alert saying, we're in no rush. Don't take anything. I'll go through them one by one. And then he's asking about Intel. Yeah, that's a correction bar. With the deep gap down, I doubt it's going to trigger today. But if you get an inside bar, it's still good to go over Friday's high because then it would have to, it has to negate today's gap down. All right, what else do I got here? Some ANET. ANET now, a number of these with these big gap downs, the general rule. We don't want them retracing more than 40%. And just eyeballing this is right there. So we're in, you got kind of a small M top with a price void. So I'm in no hurry whatsoever. I'm going to wait. I think the plan as a general rule here is waiting 30 minutes and, let's see how many of these can hold right here. Yeah, I think that 2% target is a wish list. And you remember, Alex, you and I were in agreement like 3 months ago, whatever it was, we said the Fed's probably one and done. I still believe that myself. And I think this war is going to give them the reason to stall again. And the Fed funds futures, I think said, I forget it was 78% chance of no hike this time. But I think now with the war, I wouldn't be surprised if it's over 90% now myself. All right, WDC, this was on your list, Alex. If it can negate the gaps, let's set an alarm, 46.45. I already have one 46.55, so AWK. Now this must be a utility because look, it looks so similar to this, but XLU is a tad better, but I still like it. I still like that little double. It's see, remember I showed you the Climo on ARM. This is a Climo on XLU. So it came down. It's not, I wouldn't call this a double bottom because it really didn't go up much. But what we call this is a bullish retest reversal. You got that? So it's not a textbook W, but it has the same message, particularly because Friday took out the prior low and then had a range expansion, engulfing closing breakout. So that looks fantastic. XLU. Oh shoot, I didn't put all my alarms in yet. What's the high here? 57.40. All right, 1 second. I need to get that alarm out because I don't want to miss that alarm. I'll be whining all morning. From AES. Now this is a Climo from a V bottom. It's just a 1 bar reversal. But I like the bottoming tail. I like that it closed above the open, and I like the pickup in volume. So that I like. Set an alarm at 1260. And it's just a trade to trade a bounce in a downtrend. And then it, kind of goes back to your trading plan. Do you like this type of setup. You might say, no, I don't take countertrend trades. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. But I trade all kinds of trades. ADM, another Climo. The 15 minutes not as nice. You're gonna, if you want to set an alarm, 73.40. FTNT. This a big, beautiful bottoming pattern. Now see, I would call this a potential double bottom because it's really not mature enough yet on the right side relative to this W. And typically we like momentum moves down with fluid bars, whereas this one just collapsed with one bar, which is telling me it was a nasty gap, right? Boom, there you are, nasty gap. But again, it's tradable. Mobley gapping under. See, now today is going to be a big day in retracement concepts of how much these bullish bars and where they're gapping to. This one's gapping under it. So that is bearish. That's a 180 reversal. That's not good. We want the ones that are staying in the upper 40. TDC, another nice bottoming pattern. D-Dog 89. I think that's got a downgrade. Let's see. All you do is just put your horizontal line there. Look at that. That's a nasty gap into Friday's bar. I got no interest. BMY, they're buying a company and gapping down. It could be a short-term exhaustion gap for a put spread on JB Hunt. A deep retracement relative to this, but look at it going sideways here. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 10 days. If it can take out Friday's high, then it's a beautiful short-term bottom. LII gapping up here. I have it in the bottom right. I think it got an upgrade. Not bad, 30-minute high. It's gapping to a lot of resistance here, but 30-minute high, not bad. We looked at military. Okay. Thanks for that information, Scott. That makes sense. Tyson here, I think they said they're shutting down some stores. That's a Climo also, but not a quality one. EA bottoming pattern. And that's so bottoming patterns like this, ideally we get this inside bar. See, look, see what I just said about retracement concepts. The fact that that's gapping, less than 20% in the Friday's bar is strength. So if this closes like this, then it will be an awesome 1, 2, 3 for tomorrow. I'm gonna just set an alarm at 123. All right, I just had an alarm on Plaid go off. Let's see, that's a 50% gap. So he's, on probation. But there's nothing I can do about it now. We bought all options on it. So I'm just in watch mode. I'll set new alarms here. That's the only alarm I had go off. Oh, here, XLU alarms going off right now. I told you I like that one. XLU is a go. It's a go. That's a climb. It's a Climo. right, that looks great. JetBlue. Oh, yeah, we're in JetBlue too. USTL. That's not the right symbol. No, that's XLU. Let me post this. Now Q is actually the weakest here on the 5-minute chart so far. So what do? I immediately glance up at my fangs, and yep, they all gap down on the 15 and selling off. So sidelines other than the XLU is a good place to be.